Welcome to another edition of Octagons, Circles, and Squares, an NBC Sports podcast covering the cage, the mat, and the ring. I'm your host, Stephen D'Agostino. We have a special edition of the show today. We are talking with the United States Greco-Roman wrestling team, all four members of the squad coming through to chat with us as they prepare for Paris. But first, get your day started with Bet the Edge. Jay Croucher and Drew Dinzig have all your betting needs covered, including how to win some extra cash during the Olympics. New episodes drop every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern. Whether you're targeting spreads and totals, circling player props, or looking for value in futures markets, they have it all. Now let's get to the interviews. All right, Joe. Yeah, so just catch us up, man, since trials. I mean, very emotional moment there at Penn State. How's it been since then, as far as specifically on the mat? How's your training regimen going? And then, off the mat, how's the reception been with friends and family and also amongst Team USA?
Yeah, I mean, since I made the Olympic team, it's been a lot of work, and it's trying to stay as consistent as possible with the pressure and all that comes with the Olympics. Not just the pressure, but like logistically, there's a lot of things you're doing that you're normally not doing that get added on. So it's just trying to keep your cool and like find a way to stay consistent with what got you there, and at the same time making gains. So we're in our second training camp starting today, and we also had an overseas training camp. So just trying to get the most out of that training, trying to manage pressure and anxiety, and have your head right and get your body right. And for me, it's definitely been a community effort. I got a lot of people in sports med that are keeping me healthy, and I got a lot of people keeping my mind right. And then it's my job to do the physical things. Then coaches work with me technically. So yeah, it's just kind of been a around the clock focus. So it's going to be a relief to finally get to the games and get to compete.
This has been a long time coming from you. We talk about, what happened in 16, what happened in 20. You leave your shoes on the mat there as well. It's been quite the journey. Talk about some of those, attributes that you had to maintain anxiety, maintain stress, and fight through those tough moments. What are maybe two or three key things that got you through those tough times that paid dividends to get you to where you are now?
I think why I've had longevity in the sport and why I've succeeded at this point in my career is because of an openness to change and an openness to people who want to help me, and not, I can be a stubborn person, but I'm not a stubborn person when it comes to my game. I'm always trying to improve it. I'm always trying to find new things. I think a lot of it has been able, to happen this year because of how much I've kind of gone into the mental side of the game with sports psychology, and I utilize that, and I utilize a lot of people here at the Olympic Training Center. We got sports med and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of people helping me, which is it's been unbelievable. But yeah, I think attributes, definitely perseverance is a big thing, and if I couldn't stick with the sport, at 10, and I couldn't stick with it at 18, and I couldn't stick with it at 23, and it'd be hard to stick with it now at 33, because I got every reason to be done. It's a lot more painful and difficult, but yeah, I would say an openness, being, accepting that I'm not the same person I was at 20, and finding ways to win, despite the changes I'm going through physically and mentally, I think has been key.
Going back to that exact moment where, you thought that you were done with the sport, and then you took some time away and kind of reassessed, was there a specific person or moment that you kind of felt yourself convincing yourself that, maybe I should give this another shot? Or is there time that you could credit specifically to that return back to wrestling?
Well, if there's a specific person, it'd be Coach Herb House, because he's the guy that asked me to come back and wrestle Greco. But specific moment, I kind of came back and did the U.S. Open, and I think 2023 was the first time I got back to Greco, and I wasn't completely on board with coming back full time, but I won the tournament, and then next thing I know is like, hey, you got to get on a flight to Pan Am's. go to Pan Am Championship. Before I know it, like it's like I blinked and I was a full-time athlete again. I was currently coaching at Northwestern. So I wasn't even sure how I felt about it, but then I won the Pan Am Championship, and I'm like, well, do I want to do this or not? I guess I can. I guess I'm successful still. Now, do I want to? And another person, definitely be my wife, talking to her, it doesn't make sense for us in our 30s for me to leave a full-time job with insurance and all that stuff to come back and sweat with a bunch of dudes in a wrestling room. Didn't make sense, but she was really a cool person when it came down to being supportive of what I wanted to do. And it wasn't easy. I'm coming back to the wrestling room. I got dude roommates that are 20 something years old. It's like I had a totally different life in Chicago. I was moved on. And so there's a lot of ways that it was difficult. We live apart now, but if it's gotta be people, it's definitely my wife and Coach Herb House that got me back in. And then again, I can't talk enough about sports psychology and then my personal therapist as well. I've poured into that since 2021. And I'm big on mental health, and it's kind of got me back in the game too.
Listening you talk about your journey here, and it's like just a perspective you don't hear a lot too much. It's not just wrestling, but in sports, and seem to really have your head on your shoulders now. Do you relish it all in like giving that back to wrestling and back to the community? You coach a little bit, like you said, Northwestern. Do you find yourself maybe like offering advice or helping other younger wrestlers or other younger athletes in your life now?
Yeah, I think when I was done in 2021, all I was saying was I don't want anything to do with the sport. And then I immediately became a Big Ten coach, and I was mentoring like a bunch of different athletes. So I thought I wanted to get away, but I think it's just kind of natural that I want to help people. I want to mentor people. I became a folk style coach, but I was mentoring Tim Young. When he was living in Illinois, he ended up making, the national team that year. He took second in the country. So I took him under my wing. I was kind of mentoring and coaching Bronigal, and these guys are also like training partners as well as kind of like people I'm mentoring. I kind of became a coach consultant for all these guys. Like, how do you get on a national team? What does that mean? How do you utilize all the resources that come with national team? And kind of just talking through things like that, teaching them technique, teaching them mindset, teaching them the career, because the career of being a senior level Greco guy is very unique, and you kind of learn as you go. I found out things 10 years in, so I try and fast track some of these guys that I care about, but yeah, it was funny. As soon as I got away from Greco, I had a bunch of phone calls of people like wanting me to coach their kids or coach, but in the Northwestern room, it was great. I was in wrestling, but it was kind of a break because I was coaching folk style and the pressure wasn't on me, which was super nice. The pressure was on my athletes, and there's some pressure on you as a coach, but really it was being in wrestling with kind of a mental break at the same time.
Definitely a future for you in coaching the sport in whatever capacity that you choose. The other thing though, is you're kind of a Renaissance man. I mean, you're a big foodie. The Joe Rau thing, I will not let this die. I need to see it back again. It's amazing. And then also you've done stuff at Second City in Chicago, which is nuts to think that you're an Olympian and also doing stand-up comedy sometimes, or involved in stand-up comedy. With all that said, what's next for Joe Rau after wrestling? Have you getting any thought into that?
I have no idea what's going to come after. I've had some job offers, mostly, in the form of coaching jobs. And probably if I do that, I'm going to stay in the college level of coaching, which I really enjoyed. I really like working with guys at that age and that point in their life, because that's kind of where I felt like I had a really big breakthrough in my wrestling. And I feel like I have a lot to give in that world. But there's this other side of me that wants to be creative. Like, I would love to go to film school or start becoming a bigger writer or comedian, or but it's that side of me is definitely going to be a part of my life, whether it's a hobby or a career. But I have no idea what's after the Olympics. It's kind of focusing on the Olympics, and then maybe take a mini break without letting every opportunity slide away in terms of career. But this is most likely it. Go out there, wrestle as hard as I can, and then kind of decide what I want to do with my life. I would love to be professionally a comedian or something creative, but yeah, it's also not a easy thing to succeed in. It's just as demanding as wrestling, and I've never been able to give it the amount of time necessary to succeed in it. You know, I've had like bouts of doing it enough, but it's a lot. Like I was college coaching at Northwestern, and I was doing improv and stand up every night, and I was burning the candle at both ends, and I was just exhausted. So if I'm going to have a career in comedy or something creative, I definitely got to start getting paid to do it. but yeah.
You said, you know, obviously task at hand before you get into all that is the Olympics. Just want to end here with, you know, Greco has been hard to come by for bringing hardware home for Team USA. What would it mean to you to bring a medal back to the Stars and Stripes in Paris?
Well, it'd be amazing. Obviously, I mean, everybody wants that medal, and you know, I want to get it for my country and for the coaching staff and the program here. A lot of people put a lot of work in, and you know, they really want that for me. I really want it for them. So I'm just going to go out there and you know, give it everything I got. And I truly believe that it is out of our control. So let's just go out there and do the things that I can control as good as I can. Warm up, nutrition, sleep, you know, workouts, everything mentally. I'm going to do everything in my power to be successful. And at the same time, I'm going to go out there and just wrestle because that's all I can do. I'm not going to put too much mental pressure on myself if I can manage that. But yeah, I've medaled internationally a lot over the years. And so I hope it's my day come, you know, August 6th and 7th.
Payton, what a whirlwind, man. Awesome job at trials. Catch us up since trials though. How's training been going? How's life outside? How's the reception been amongst family and friends since you learned that you were going to Paris here?
It's been pretty cool. My family's been very excited for me. They've been doing a bunch of fundraisers, and my hometown's been helping me out too. Trying to get everybody in my family to get to Paris. Yeah, it's been cool. And then for me, I just been training pretty much. I went out to a few weeks after the trials. I actually got brought out to Alaska by Spencer Woods. We trained a little bit, went hunting, and just kind of reset, get away from everything. And then after that, I went out to Croatia for a training camp, and then Budapest for a tournament, trying to spar against some of the guys that I'll be competing against. And then went back to Marquette for a bit, trained up there, and then back out to Colorado Springs, a little training. And then now back out in Colorado Springs one more time, and I got flying back to Marquette in a few days, and got some partners from Norway and Switzerland coming up, along with some other guys from the States, and they're going to help me prepare for the Olympics.
So just rewinding here, Alaska to Croatia to Bulgaria, you said, then back home.
Budapest,
then back home. I mean, that's a lot of frequent flyer miles. How's the flight travel been? Are you an airport veteran now? And is part of that just to get you used to some of this international travel going into Paris in less than a month?
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of travel lately. I've had a few actually rough travel days, but yeah, it's just getting me ready, I guess. Got to battle through some adversity in order to perform, not even just on the wrestling mat, but with all things through life. Yeah, just taking it day by day, though.
Battling through adversity day by day. I mean, those sound like things that probably helped you out as a 7 seed at trials, bowling through that bracket and get your hand raised at the end. What was the mentality heading into that tournament that gave you the confidence as someone as young as you are to come into trials and really leave your mark on the tournament and move ahead to the Olympics?
I mean, I had confidence in my skills. I prepared myself, put myself in the best shape I thought I could be. And at the end, it was just a matter of if I was to execute it or not. And nothing I could really do. I thought I left it in God's hands, and ended up coming out on top.
You mentioned beforehand that you had a group of about 30 people coming over to Paris to watch you wrestle. Who amongst that group is some of your biggest supporters or factors that really helped you training up the trials and has helped you now since then?
I mean, my mom and dad are coming in, my brother and sister. I got cousins coming, but also I got all my coaches since I was real little. Bill Colley and his wife are coming, along with Lucas Stout and his wife, and then Andy Bisick, Parker Betts, like all the people that have been supporting me. They're all coming along, and part of the fundraising that I was doing was trying to get their spouses to come out to Paris as well, because they've put so much time into me. I wanted to reward them a little bit as well.
You got a big support group around you. How's the support been within the team since you got there? You're, pretty on the younger end of this. Have you gotten any kind of advice or tutelage from the other guys that have been around the international circuit on the U.S. team since you joined the squad?
Yeah, no, I've been getting help from everybody. I feel like everyone believes in me, and at this point, it's they're just trying to get me ready, help me prepare for the rest of the world, and show them what the States is about. I know Ellis Coleman was 21 when he made a team. Spencer Mango was about 21, Provisor. So they've been just trying to help me out a little bit and, get me ready mentally and physically.
I know Spencer, I believe, will be over there with Kamal even and you guys. What's some of the advice that, he's given you amongst these other guys that have done it at a young age as well? What was the best piece of advice that you've received, do you think?
Probably that people tell me I'm young all the time, and I've been told really not to listen to that, because soon enough I won't be young anymore. That was a big piece of advice, along with, it's just a tournament, just a tournament to compete in. It's like the biggest tournament in the world, but yeah, just another tournament. Prepare how you prepare for any other tournament and hopefully perform.
It's been, on the freestyle side, the U.S. has had some success. On the Greco side, it's been a little bit harder going to bring hardware home. What would it mean to you, given that, to be a Greco-Roman wrestler in the United States with the Stars and Stripes, bringing home an Olympic medal for your country?
It would mean everything. I feel like the U.S. needs a medal right now, at least for Greco. Yeah, it'd be a big step. And my sponsor, Sunkist, just went down and trying to figure out what's next for Greco athletes. And there's really only one other sponsorship team. So I feel like if we were to win some medals here, it would open more doors. Not even just financially, but in other aspects. Like Northern Michigan's the only other university that offers full-time Greco while you can do school. So it's just a medal would be a huge growth for Greco wrestling, I believe. And I believe I'm the one to do that.
Essentially, what we want to talk about, Kamal, is everything you're alluding to there. What a whirlwind. First off, what was training like after trials? Were you still maintaining any kind of wrestling or conditioning? And then I guess since you found out, did you have to really turn a corner there? Just catch us up since trials.
So I didn't get the weight qualified at the championships, the Pan Am Championship. So immediately after the trials, I had to go and qualify the spot at the last chance qualifier. So practice, you can imagine, was intense. It was tough. I had a great group of guys pushing me and helping me get to where I wanted to be.
And then the specific moment that you found out that, the allocations had shifted and there was a quota spot, I want to hear everything about that day, that moment. Where were you? What was the conversation like? What were the emotions? Just really paint that picture for us when you found out that your team was punched.
Of course. As soon as the IOC released the information, I jumped out of bed, man. My wife was with me, and I was like, Hannah, look. And I saw that the AIN athlete was ineligible, and I immediately got on the phone with Herb. I immediately got on the phone with Timmy Hands from 5 Point Move, and just started talking about all the possibilities, making sure we got all our information in order. But yeah, it was exciting. Like, my heart dropped. I kept telling myself after the last chance qualifier, something good has to happen to me, as I worked too hard not to be going.
The phrase in wrestling a lot of coaches use from youth wrestling is just, you always got to be ready. You don't know when your name's going to be called in the bracket. You don't know when you're going to get asked to step on the mat. This is like an ultimate version of that. Was there? I'm sure there was kind of, like you said, some doubts, but in the back of your mind, you were like, I mean, something good could happen. Was there any kind of, I have to still be on my game. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, so I was training in like the mornings and stuff, like just kind of waiting for the IOC to finish their vetting process. But then like in the afternoon, like just to like calm my anxiety and my anxiousness for it, I was just like go fishing.
What are some of your favorite fishing spots? Is that kind of your go-to, activity to take your mind off things?
Yeah, fishing. It reminds me of just like hanging out with my brother Giangelo. He was an Olympian in the 2020 games in Tokyo. So I go like probably like an hour down south, an hour up north, pretty much like anywhere I can find a body of water. I just throw a hook in there to see what's in there.
Your brother, I'm sure he was one of the names on that phone call list that you hit up as soon as you found out. What was the conversation with like you and your brother when you found out you were going to Paris?
Oh man, he was so excited for me. Like it's one thing, like you want it for yourself, but like family who like supports you like through everything and knows what's going on with you. Like he was like, man, I'm so proud of you. Like you worked so hard, man. You're gonna do great in Paris. Just being like the best big brother he could be.
Speaking of Paris, this team that you're going with, you make 16 wrestlers, which I think as of now is the most of any nation represented for wrestling right now. What does it mean to be a part of this pretty awesome group of not just Greco, but freestyle, both men and women heading over there?
It's great because I grew up with a lot of these wrestlers. But being able to compete in Greco-Roman wrestling, being able to lead my guys out there at 77 kilos, it's a lot for me. I went on and, told everyone that I'm the leader of USA Greco. And like, I kind of felt like I let everyone down at first when I didn't immediately get the spot, the last chance qualifier. But, now I'm in the game. So I gotta refocus and, focus on being a leader for my teammates and, through the camp and everything, making sure their heads are on their shoulders and everybody's ready to go out there, fight and compete.
As a leader of this Greco squad, it does seem to be a pretty special team. I mean, Payton's only 21. You have some young blood there. We just talked to Adam, and he's got a ton of great credentials too. What makes this team maybe different than other Olympic Greco teams that you've seen in the past?
I'll say it's a team of hard workers. Everybody has like their own style of wrestling, which makes us like unorthodox. A lot of countries like have a similar style like amongst the lineup. You get a little bit of everything in this lineup, and I think that's going to help us out in the long run when we compete in Paris.
All right, Adam, I know we'll run a little behind here, so we'll get started quickly. You're just talking about, your cornermen and the practice room. How's training been going since trials up there at Cliff Keen? It's a pretty loaded room with not just, U.S. representatives, but some international guys as well. So how's training been going, and catch us up since trials?
Yeah, training's been going great. Had opportunities to go overseas as well as training, one of the toughest rooms in the United States with the Cliff Keen Wrestling Club. We got 4 Olympians that are all trained in the same room. So it's great to kind of have, have them around you, just because even though we're not wrestling the same style, we're all trying for that same goal. So it's really nice to, have that little extra push that comes from it.
One of those guys in that room, Mason Paris, it's pretty wild that you have 2 big boys in one room going to the Olympics. Talk us through the big man corner, the heavyweight corner of that room. How often do you guys work out together, talk to each other? Both Michigan guys. So just let us know, how that's been going.
Yeah, it's pretty nice having the Michigan bookends. It's nice to, hopefully cap off the event at the 2 heavies with some gold medals. It'd be great. I really like having Mason around. He's just fun to talk to and fun to, kind of hang out. And it was nice to really share that experience at the U.S. trials, both winning there. In terms of working out together, the fun part and the hard part is we are different styles. So there are some things that just will not work well with us. Like there's no reason for me to take a shot for him to defend. It's not going to help him. It's not going to help me. And then in terms of, some Greco specific stuff, it doesn't work for the both of us. He's not giving the right feel and I'm not going to get much out of it type thing. But in terms of hand fighting, parterre goes, all that stuff, yeah, we'll work together and we'll work through that stuff just because it's beneficial for both of us. So that's the nice, unique part about having is how do we work out together, but at the same time too, let's make sure we bring in guys that are going to push us to be the best we can be come Olympic time.
You mentioned that difference in styles, which I think is super interesting. And you could probably speak to this more than other people because you have a folk style background. You've done some freestyle too. Usually with Greco, we see guys start very early, sometimes not even going to like a major D1 college and going somewhere else. What was that transition like? Or was it odd to go from folk to free to now Greco? And also given that you're performing at such a high level at Greco as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't like it was a big jump, but it wasn't that big of a jump considering the way I wrestled folk style and freestyle had a Greco-ish type feel. I really liked wrestling upper body. I didn't shoot many leg attacks, and I had to learn how to defend leg attacks. But in terms of shots, I didn't do too many of them, and if they were shots, I'd be doing high level stuff. So it really wasn't too big of a transition because I was so used to wrestling upper body anyway. Obviously, there was definitely a learning curve that, hey, you don't have to worry about your legs, so you can stand up a little bit taller. You can, there's different adjustments that you make that I had to work through, but it really wasn't. It wasn't as big of a jump as a guy that was a low ankle, low single guy that would have to transition over.
Yeah, and then you've been a familiar face in the international scene for a while now, even being on the ladder in 16, then obviously in 20 as well. What was the change, the pivot that finally put you over the hump here for Paris? Was there any moment that you kind of had, you realized that you were in the running more so than the other previous games, or was there any factor that was like the definitive kind of push you needed?
I would say the only definitive was the fact that I got my hand raised at the end of the mat and the weight class was already qualified. That's about the only definitive. In terms of the training, I really didn't do all that much different other than just continue to grind, continue to train, and continue to get better. It was kind of the same process, and just eventually I was able to kind of get to the point where I was able to get my hand raised and the weight class was already qualified. I can't say that I did anything different other than just, I went after it, and that's what I've been doing the whole time. And, it was the time, I guess.
Out of the three styles, the two freestyle teams and then the Greco team, obviously the U.S. Hasn't had as much hardware come home from Greco. A lot of people kind of pen you as a big hope for that. What would it mean to you to bring some hardware home for the U.S. in the Greco wrestling style?
I would say leading into this, my main goal is to wrestle my absolute best and wrestle to what I believe that I am capable of. The medals will come when people wrestle just like that. So what it would mean for me is it would be a nice little frosting on the cake per se to bring home medals. And that's obviously the goal. But the bigger goal is making sure that I go out there and I compete hard and compete well and just do my absolute best out there. I would love to bring home medals, for the USA, for the country. But my focus is wrestling my best, and the medals will come from that.
Don't miss these wrestlers compete with the best of the best in their quest for gold. The Olympic Games return live from Paris on NBC and Peacock. It all starts Friday, July 26th. And that'll do it for this edition of Octagon Circles and Squares. Stay tuned to this channel as we continue the rest of our episodes to catch up with the rest of the United States Olympic team. Thanks. We'll see you then.